Copy. All right, ready to rock?
This is KC Sports Tonight.
Yes, it is, and we are in two places at once because we have the technology. Scott Reiss live in our KCTV5 newsroom, and Marleah Campbell sweating it out at CPKC Stadium, where the KC Current will take on the Chicago Red Stars at 7 o'clock tonight. And Marleah, thank you for jacking up the tunes right before we stream live.
It is a tradition on this show that we stand in a place with not a lot of music, and then during the mic check that changes. But great time out here. Scott, you mentioned sweating it out here. I'll tell you what, when we were in the parking lot, I was a little nervous. It was pretty hot. Folks who have been outside today know that the weather's not very friendly to an outdoor sporting event. Here, it feels amazing. I mean, we got the breeze going a little bit. We're right off the riverfront. We got some shade here. I feel great. So I was pleasantly surprised at the weather. It's going to be a great atmosphere here today. I talked to the Kansas City Current. They said they're expecting another sellout. So 11,500 fans on hand today to watch the Current take on the Red Stars. Right now, the Current have the third longest unbeaten streak in NWSL history. They're another tie or win today moves them into number 2. A lot of fun tonight. Going to be a full crowd on hand to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty remarkable. The season started in March. It's now mid-June, and they haven't lost a single match. You see the record on the screen: 8 wins, no losses, 4 draws. They've set records already. I mean, I think they've got the franchise record for most goals in a season. They've already set it, and they're not even halfway through their regular season in 2024. So it's just not only are they winning, but they're scoring goals at an incredible pace, especially there at home. So they're a lot of fun to watch, and obviously you'll get to see it, and the fans are in for a treat tonight.
Sorry, I'm getting attacked by a bee, but yes. It's been an unbelievable season. And remember, this is a team that last season didn't make the postseason. They had a massive roster flip over the offseason, brought in some really good talent, and this team has had 14 goal scorers this season. So it's not just 1 or 2 players contributing to this team's success. A.D. France has been fantastic at goaltender. This is the recipe for a team that has potential to go a really long way. If you have 1, 2, 3 players who you really heavily rely on for scoring, that makes it difficult going through a long season where, knock on wood, injuries become issues. This is a really broad, depth, talented team. And again, kudos to what now former GM Neil Ashton did over the course of last offseason, bringing in a lot of talent onto this roster. I'm personally excited because, Scott, you remember 2 seasons ago, this team made it all the way to the NWSL Championship. This entire city was lit up teal. It was unbelievable. Union Station had a bunch of banners. Everywhere you went, you were seeing Current t-shirts. We're starting to feel that kind of excitement again. Still a long way to go to the postseason, as we all know, but it's really not. And when we mentioned that postseason a few years ago, this stadium did not exist. It was a parking lot that I was standing in. So pretty exciting stuff here, and it's exciting because of the Current stadium opening, full stop, but to have the success they've had on top of that this season has made for a really, really cool time to be part of this club.
Well, it's funny, you say still a long way to go before the postseason, but it was fun to hear Vlatko in his news conference make reference to, and when we get to the playoffs, we have to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, coaches don't usually use when we get to the playoffs when we're not even halfway through the season. So that's the kind of optimism and confidence that he has in this team, and obviously well-deserved.
Yeah, we talked about this with the Royals, we talked about this with the Chiefs. There's like this intangible swagger that teams have that, it's kind of, you can't put it into the stats, you can't put it into the X's and O's, it's just the confidence. This team has that. I think Flo Labonte, the perfect embodiment. Lots of fans here today. The perfect embodiment of that spirit of just knowing, hey, we're the best in the league right now. This team is at the top of the NWSL table, and they know it. And again, unbeaten through 12 games, a lot of talent. I'm excited for the rest of the season here, and so are folks here. I mean, it's, let's see, hour and a half before kickoff, and you can see the steady stream of people behind me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, what are they? They're moving furniture? Are they like bringing in extra seats to accommodate the overflow fans? I mean, what's going on back there?
I wouldn't be surprised. It's also Pride Night tonight, so that's really exciting. Our friend Brenda Van Langen, who we've had on KC Sports Tonight, the old edition before, will be doing the KC Baby Dance, and we got a lot of people in the house. I hear Michael Waka and his family will be here, Royals pitcher, while he nurses that injury, so he's going to get to check out the stadium for the first time. So yeah, a lot going on. Also, one thing that you might be hearing that is contributing to the noise is those little inflatable things that you hit together. That's today's free giveaway. So lots of noise here today. Thank you for the time. And a Friday night. We don't get Friday night games with beautiful weather that often. Yeah.
Great. We picked a good night to have you out there, so we can hear even less with the thanks to the giveaway. So that's fantastic. And you know, Michael Waka on the injured list with the foot injury, so he's not in Los Angeles with the Royals. So why not take this opportunity to go do some things that normally baseball players don't get to do a lot of during the season?
100%. We saw on Sunday against Seattle, Andy Reid was here, Patrick and Brittany Mahomes, a little bit less surprising, they're owners of the club. The Royals trio, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr. There's been a lot of famous faces here in Kansas City. This is the place to be right now. So yeah, again, I can't emphasize how great this environment is. Looking behind me right now, you would think that the game's about to start in like 10 minutes, but this is actually an hour and a half away. And we have Jillian, our own Jillian.
Do we have a Jillian Carroll sighting? Hello. That's not Jillian Carroll.
Right now. Tell Jillian we say hi. Anyways, guys, you're saying. Good to see you too.
Too funny. All right, let's harken back to last night, Marleah, if you can remember last night. You and I were in Lawrence, Kansas. It was not quite that loud, but it was still pretty loud. The annual Rock Chalk Roundball Classic. And, you know, we talked about it, obviously, a lot this week leading up to the event. But now that we've seen another successful Roundball Classic and just the incredible array of former Jayhawk talent that was in the house last night, and you and I were both surprised that guys like Jalen Wilson and Christian Brown played as many minutes as they did in what's obviously an exhibition charity game. But tell you what, they were balling a little bit. It was fun to watch, and you know, it's just speaks volumes about not only the KU program, but Brian Haney and his efforts to bring it all together.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite events we get to cover all year long. I think, you know, you and I were on the broadcast call last night with a quick programming note. This is going to air on, if you missed it last night at Lawrence Free State High School, it's going to air on KSMO next Friday, June 21st, 8 to 9:30 p.m. Definitely something you're going to want to hit your DVR to record, set that up, watch it live if you can, because it was a lot of fun. But one of my favorite events of the year, been doing it I think for 3 or 4 years now, and every year what's really cool is like the consistency of talent that keeps coming back. I mean, Devontae Graham has been there all 4 years I was there. You mentioned Christian Brown and Jalen Wilson. It was their first iteration of the Roundball Classic that they got to play last night. We had Mitch Lightfoot. I'm trying to think of other guys. Brandon Rush has been there every single year. I mean, the
Ochai Abaji.
basketball. Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, Ochai Abaji. He was there. And as you mentioned, playing a lot of minutes. So I was doing sideline reporting, and I was there were a couple guys kind of on the short list that I wanted to get. You know, I wanted to get Christian, I wanted to get Jalen, and I wanted to get Ochai. And so we were talking before the game. Well, you know, these guys are active in the NBA. It's a scrimmage game. It's the summer. They're not going to want to get hurt. I bet they'll, you know, throw up a couple threes at the beginning of the game, and then they'll, you know, go to the bench, whatever, cheer on. They played almost the entire game. In fact, when I did an interview with Christian on the sideline, I was talking to him and I was like, well, I bet you want to get back in there, right? And he was like, yeah, I have to go. And he ran to the scores bench and he checked in to play some more. So it was, they're dunking, they're like guard, they're playing defense. It was pretty cool. But obviously the biggest part of this is that it benefits seven local cancer fighters, young kids and their families. Brian does this every year where they have a ton of applicants and they pick some kids, and you know, at the beginning of the game, the kids get to walk out through the little huddle and high-five the KU players, and kind of flip the roles where they're the stars, and then this massive event benefits those families, which, hearing the stories of how much you don't think about as much the financial burden that, you have this diagnosis, it's a scary thing to deal with, and then the financial burden. So the goal of that game is to help ease that a little bit. Great event, great cause, and just a whole lot of fun. I hope you get to watch it next week.
Well, and as I give you a friendly reminder to keep the mic closer to your mouth if you can, so that we can hear you more easily, given the background ambiance. The other,
it's getting louder out here.
It is getting louder. The unique aspect of last night was the first timeout during the game. We saw something that we have never seen before at a Roundball Classic. Maybe you can, and you were right there. Maybe you can fill the folks in on that.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Ever. I don't think I've ever seen one of these. So we were told, even the broadcast crew, who we are in on this, we were not told what was happening. We were told something special is happening at the first timeout. And so I was kind of kneeling down and I had my phone. And we're not going to give too many spoilers. You're going to have to tune into the Roundball Classic broadcast again next Friday, KSMO, 8 o'clock. But we had a wedding proposal on TV. It went well. So we got to celebrate a happy couple getting engaged. 2 former KU basketball players, again, another spoiler. So it was really cool. And the angle I was at, recording them, I got to see David McCormick and Ochai and a couple of those people who also had no idea. So seeing their reactions and their jaws drop to the floor is a pretty special moment. On just a completely special night in every single way possible. A lot of fun, a lot of great basketball, and again, a free NBA game for a lot of folks that got tickets to that, because we got to see those NBA guys playing all night long.
No, it was a packed house. The fans absolutely adore this event, and they get their money's worth, because not only do they get to support a great cause and see a fun basketball game with fantastic players that they watch, for years and years, but then the players, all of them, even the biggest stars and the most recent stars, Christian Brown and Jalen Wilson and Abaji, they stick around long enough to sign for every fan who wants a signature, take selfies with every fan who wants a photo. There was no buzzer. There was no, okay, sorry guys, time's up. I mean, they literally accommodated every person in that building, which again speaks to the dedication and just the character of these student athletes.
Well, and another quick anecdote is that Jalen Wilson and Christian Brown kind of had the longest lines there, right? Jalen with the Nets, Christian with the Nuggets. And they had the longest lines. They had this huge crowd of kids sitting next to them. By the end of the night, neither of them were wearing shirts or shoes because they gave them away and autographed them. For
Jalen did
fans.
not. Jalen did not give the shoes away. Jalen refused to give the shoes away. He was very attached to those big kicks.
Was he wearing shoes?
I think so. But he gave the shirt he did.
I get it.
And Christian I thought Christian was going to be naked by the time we were done. So I was glad he was wearing anything.
Yeah, we were like, please stop here. But they could have signed, a couple signatures and said thank you, we got to go. But they stayed for probably upwards of an hour, paying close attention, asking for all the kids' names and everything. So that was really cool. Again, just really fun. I would recommend seriously watching it, and if not, get tickets for next year, because it's a really, really great event. And you say bang for your buck. I mean, when else are you going to see 2 national champions? You got Brandon Rush from 2008, you got Jalen Wilson, Christian Brown, Ochai Abaji, Mitch Lightfoot from 2022, of course, Sharon Collins from 2008 also, playing on the same team and playing against each other. It's such a rare thing to get to see, and I don't think a lot of college programs in the country would be able to pull this off like KU does, because of the buy-in they have from their alumni base. Remember, these are busy people, all over the country. Brian Haney flies them all in for this great event. So, I can't speak highly enough about last night.
All right, let's move on to baseball. We mentioned earlier the Royals. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Royals are playing another first-place team. And, I mean, thank you, schedule makers, for giving us 4 games against the Yankees, no day off, fly coast to coast to take on the Dodgers in Los Angeles. Thanks for that 7-day stretch. But that's where we are. They kick off that series tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think there's kind of this period over the last, week or so where you've been like, oh, what's going on with the Royals? Well, they're playing the best teams in the league. Scott, you tweeted out a stat where, just the caliber of teams they have right now over this stretch is unparalleled. So fight your way through this one, stay relatively healthy, try to pick up wins on the road. They got that walk-off their last game here in Kansas City, which was nice. But, we use the words big test. It doesn't get much bigger than this, so big couple weeks here.
It's a big test. You mentioned the schedule. It has been brutal for the Royals. This is these 3 games are the tail end of 20 straight games against current playoff teams. Meanwhile, you got the team in Cleveland playing like a month and a half of baseball against the White Sox, the Marlins, the Rockies, the Tigers, pretty much the dregs of the major leagues, just over and over and over again. But that will fix itself. The Royals finally get a break on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They go play the A's. And I'm telling you, post All-Star break, the Guardians' schedule is brutal, and the Royals is much easier. So, they're 5 games back right now.
But this too shall pass.
Right, exactly. Tonight, it works out well for them tonight because they have their ace on the hill, which is always great for game 1 of a tough series. Cole Reagans against Gavin Stone, who's been admittedly really good for the Dodgers, but certainly you like their chances with Reagans on the hill. And how big would it be to go to LA and win game 1 of a 3-game series, especially, like you mentioned, coming off the walk-off yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, confidence building, energy building, and getting off on the right foot. I think this stretch is all about confidence. You beat these playoff teams, right before the All-Star break, kind of get out onto a high note and end the second half of the season with momentum. Especially, as you mentioned, knowing that it's not going to be like this forever. I'm going to have to keep going on the road, flying cross-country, facing off against first-place teams. It's going to balance out over time, but certainly in the thick of it right now.
And one more Royals note, which I bring up partially because it's news today, but also partially because I had a very vested interest in this player last year. But Logan Porter, who is a backup catcher, a minor league catcher, he wasn't in the majors this year. He was hitting .319, 6 homers at Omaha, so he's having a nice season. He was up last year for about 3 weeks, hit a home run. He was traded today to the Giants in exchange for cash consideration. So basically sold to the San Francisco Giants. And this is a shame, not that the Royals need the catching depth, obviously, with Salvi and Freddie Fermin, but he was such an incredible story, and I did a nice feature on him last year as a guy who was unrecruited, undrafted, a clubhouse attendant in Surprise, Arizona for the Royals rookie league team, and was basically given an invitation to become a bullpen catcher for their low-level minor league team, who would also be on the roster like break glass in case of emergency if we need an extra player. And somehow that guy, over a 5-year stretch, climbed his way through the low minors to AAA and last year to the big leagues, and it was really remarkable. So it's sad to see him go, but what a good guy and what a great story.
Yeah, Scott, I was out there with you for that story, I remember. I think we printed out those photos and kind of did that nice story out there. And he was just such a good, genuine dude. It's cool to see those things happen. I think one of my favorite tropes in the world of sports is kind of the underdog, making it. And that's the definition of what Logan Porter is. So best wishes to him moving forward there. And I'm glad you were able to do it. Sorry, we're having like a total dance party right now. But best wishes to him and his next stop. And I'm glad that you were able to talk to him and really tell that story here in Kansas City before he left, because it was pretty remarkable.
What would it take to get you to participate in the dance party live on KC Sports tonight?
Well, I can tell you, and it would be a couple of those little, what do you call those things? The inflatable, can you see them? This pole might be in the way. These people dancing with like the pole's in the way. Well,
yeah,
you'll have to take my word for it. But if I get my hands on some of those, then it is game over here. But again, we've been here for about 20 minutes now. There has been a constant stream of people behind me. 11,500 people going to be here tonight. And we talk about the energy of this team, kind of the momentum they have right now. They're like doing this elaborate, seemingly choreographed dance up there. I'm sad you can't see it, but it's going to be a good atmosphere tonight, Scott. And again, what it would take for me to participate would be some of those. Maybe I can get some of my hands on those before the 6 o'clock news.
There you go. Bring us back a souvenir. We appreciate it. And bring us back another win, because, you're undefeated. May as well keep the thing rolling, right? 12 games, no losses.
Yeah.
We're in mid-June. And what is it? Only 4 more games, including tonight, on sort of the first half of the regular season schedule before they have another international break and they do Women's Cup matches. And so really they don't convene for a couple months. If they can not lose in the next 4 games, they're going to be undefeated into September in league play. I mean, how great is that?
Wild. I remember when it was like 8 or 9, we're like, man, how cool would it be to get to 10? And it doesn't look like this trade's stopping anytime soon.
No. All right. Listen, it's super loud out there, so we'll cut this a little bit short today. But appreciate you hanging in. Glad you could hear me at least a little bit. We could hear you at least a little bit. And again, we'll have more from Marleah coming up on KCTV5 News at 6 in about a half hour. We'll talk more soccer and have a funny moment from the Roundball Classic on the news as well. So flip over to TV for that. Marleah, appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a few.
Oh my goodness, a flood of goals from Marleah. Absolutely incredible performance from her.